Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Nice to receiving you here on our podcast, the Digital Chemical Playbook. Today, I'm pleased to receive for this episode Jess Tang. Jess Tang is the founder and the CEO of a company called Mavic AI. Why we decided to invite Jess in the episode of today is because Jess is having a track record moving from chemical consumer good industry to then tech industry and then moving on to our own solution. So what we believe is that the solution Mavic AI is also resolving some pains from the industry, and this is what we will track together. Good morning, Jess. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Florian, for having me on the podcast.
So just to set the context and to introduce the conversation that we are going to have today, Jess, maybe can you introduce shortly yourself and what was your track record that bring the Jess from the beginning to the Jess meeting us today at our DKSH Digital Podcast? I think our audience wants to know about you.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. I am Jess, as Florian has mentioned. So, I am a marketer turned AI tech founder. So, I started the industry in around 2011 as a social media marketer. So, really working on Facebook campaigns
Wow.
and then going on to the agency. And then I actually managed to become global innovation lead at Johnson & Johnson Consumer Health and APAC, where I spent my time there bringing innovations from different startups to the business teams implementing that. I also led the joint business partnership with Meta and TikTok for a while. And then I started my journey in the AI space as building an AI brand marketer, which is Mavic AI today. So that's a little bit about my background on this journey because I love creative as a marketer, but I am fascinated about technology. And I can see how when you marry creative and tech, you can actually do amazing things as the industry and the world is seeing right now.
Definitively, I think creativity plus technology and understanding the challenges of companies in the chemical industry or in the pharmaceutical industry or even much beyond, it's a great asset to bring the innovation to the next stage, specifically today. From your track record, as you said, you've been working many years at Johnson & Johnson. You've been running, as you said, some partnerships and contracts with the big players of the digital world. Uh, where, from your standpoint, digital first met the real constraints? What was your first trigger?
Well, when digital had the first constraints. So I think, it's this past 15 years has been really fascinating because when I first
Yes,
joined the industry, everyone didn't, digital was like a tiny, tiny bit of
true,
the marketing budget, right? Remember
true,
then you have to fight so hard for like 5%, 10% of the budget. And now it's almost like the tables have turned because digital is the infrastructure in which you have to think about marketing. We no longer do digital marketing, but we are marketing in the digital world.
true.
So that is the biggest transformation I see. So being part of this process, I think that when I first started, there was a lot of barriers when it came to digital because it was it's almost like a wild, wild west, right?
Yeah,
Everyone was not sure about if I put a content out there, would it go viral? Would someone respond? Anyone's response is so public. And as a brand,
true.
I think there are like a little bit of fear around being able to take that step. But when you see the opportunity of how when you're able to harness marketing on digital very well, how you can actually engage with the community, how you're willing to take a step back and let the public co-create with your community, then you also see so many brands flourish, right? And that
Mm,
became the last, I think, 5 to 8 years where you start to see that every brand now has to have a digital presence. They want to go viral. They want to co-create and co-brand with the community. So that's really the change I see.
that's true. I think while you were working at Johnson & Johnson, one of the biggest concern is that once you move to the digital world, you lose a bit control on your brand message, or what is your brand telling about to their customers, right? It means like Johnson and Johnson, the budget allocated for TV spot was, that's the budget, that's the message, that's the channel, and it will be blast at that moment, right? So everybody goes the same and gets the same. Once you went through this digital transformation on that level, it's also helping a lot to start building segmentation, hyper personalization. It's a real innovation, but in the same time, what I do see is that digital marketing is the area where a company uses the most the support of agencies, right? Much more than for operations, finance, and so on. Um, how do you see the gap between the level of innovation that can come from pure players and, I would say, historic companies and users like the Johnson and Johnson you've been working for?
When you say the innovation coming from the big players, can you just clarify that?
I mean that, for instance, you've been working with Meta. Meta is innovating a lot on the way that they are
Yeah.
offering advertisements. Same for Google, right? So there is, in one side, a pace of innovation that goes very fast, and in the other side, the corporate world that, and you come from there, so you know how things goes. How was it matched on your level?
Yeah. So the fun part about me having the opportunity to manage the joint business plan with Meta and TikTok is that I get to get some strategic value add services from them. And
Hmm.
that was very helpful because when a big company wants to take risk, we
Yeah,
need to work with the best of the best. So,
correct.
so on their side, they are willing to provide services, resources, like people who absolutely know how the algorithm works and know all the
Hmm.
best practices. And then on our side, on the corporation side, we need to find the brave teams, brand market teams that are willing to
Yes.
become the case studies and take the first steps. So I think that was how we did it. When we committed to creating, doing things differently in a creative way, we found actually market teams and brought them into the process with Meta and TikTok. And this is where you mentioned agencies. I also
Yes.
think agencies have a part to play because Meta and TikTok at the end of the day they represent their companies. But
True.
agencies, right? They actually have to be quite platform agnostic and they need to take a best decision for the brand, knowing all the
Yes.
pros and cons of all the different solutions out there.
Yes.
So I think that's actually a very happy mix because on the brand side, we need to make sure, okay, which are the brand market combinations that can take this step forward on
Yes.
behalf of the rest of the region. Meta and TikTok, they will want to do like really amazing things with big brands. So they will put their best foot forward. And the agencies, they're like the happy medium that helps us take kind of calculated decisions on what to do when it comes to implementation. So that, yeah,
Correct.
so it was quite nice that way.
Helping to actually fill the gap, right, between
Yeah.
speed that we get from platform native and pure players and the corporate world, right? However, I mean, there is a pain point that we see in the chemical industry. I'm sure at TKZ, but also in many other brands, is that we are a B2B, right? So once you're a B2B, it's about people talking to people, representing each other, their brands. So B2B, we like to say it's human to human. So there is a very close relationship from of each of the other part. So the question is, how can we reflect this closeness to people while representing a corporate brand by doing such a digital marketing operations?
That's a great question. So I will answer first, but I would love to hear your perspective as well.
Yeah.
After, I like to think that no matter whether we're B2B or B2C, we are all
Mhm.
living in the same world. We all see the same thing. You may think it's
True.
a one-to-one relationship, but the person on the other end, he or she is still scrolling on TikTok,
Yes.
Instagram, they're still searching, they still go out and they have their hobbies and they are exposed to the world around them as
Mhm.
well. And as much as we all like to think that, this kind of buying decisions are a pure rational decision, but I also think
Yes.
that there's an emotional constraint, right? For example, if I want to talk to someone, when you come from a brand that I recognize, I'm more likely to respond to you. I'm more likely to spend more time talking to you than
Mm-hmm.
if you are emailing me and I have no idea who your brand is and I don't
Correct.
really know what your brand stands for. So we are all, again, every one of us, we are looking at ads all the time, content all the time. Digital marketing to me is an air cover to kind of warm up a relationship so that in B2B, the effectiveness and that conversion can actually potentially improve. So
Correct.
that's how I look at the mix. But yeah, what about what are your views actually? Yeah.
I mean, Jess, that's a fair comment because on our side, we always think about omni-channel approach. This is our obsession. So we can increase the awareness of our brands towards an ecosystem. I think each industry is an ecosystem. And what matters in B2B is not how many millions of view you might have, but how well recognized you are within the ecosystem you are operating. And this is also why I mean, segmentation makes so much sense and it's so important, and it connects with the topic we wanted to discuss today, Jess, which is like the core friction between data, creativity, and decision making. I mean, if you're a B2C, your target, on my view, is to have the highest audience possible because you're direct to consumer. When you're doing marketing for specific brands and companies, it's extremely important to understand the data that you're processing so you can target the right company, right? So the company that will be at the end of the day purchasing your ingredients and not falling in the trap of promoting to end consumer when this is not your challenge, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah.
as an organization, and many organizations in the industry are doing the same. So they do investment in digital platform as well as in content strategy. But just to giving you the word, I mean, my question is, where do you see the biggest breakdown today? Is it like you see B2B is it's like we like to say B2B is 10 to 15 years behind B2C, right? Is it because of decision making structure, or do you feel it's about investment, or is it about talent, or how the information is interpreted across the teams?
Well, I think there are multiple, factors on it. As a marketer myself, okay, personally, I think it's more fun to be a B2C marketer versus a B2B marketer. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely, because B2C, it's just so immediate, right? When you create something, when you innovate and
Also,
experiment, yeah, so immediate. For B2B, it's slightly different. So maybe on the talent front, there is a preference if there are creative people who want that action, run around with TV and do TV shows, maybe they will choose
Mm-hmm.
that. But I think the skill set of a B2B marketer is slightly different. I like to always anchor back on what is the consumer journey. So if I think about
Yes.
a consumer journey, the B2C consumer journey is actually a lot simpler than a B2B consumer journey because B2B consumer journey, there are so many different buyers in that process. There's this
True.
economic buyer and then the actual user. And then of course, then there's the end consumer at the end. And each of them have different reasons why they were engaged. So when you think about the consumer journey or like the journey of the purchase journey of a B2B, so now it started to be complex now. Okay, now the
true.
next layer that comes in is we are now living in the digital world and we do have access to a lot of data. But now the B2B marketer needs to do that exercise of mapping which data is going to help you infer what each of the different buyers are thinking, what are the channels they are get exposed to, and what are the pain points they're trying to solve or the benefits they're looking for. And when it comes to this data layer, again, because now digital marketing is so
Yes.
mature, there's behavioral data, there's like segmentation data, demographics data, like geography data. So all of these now becomes a data modeling exercise. And
Yes.
only after you do all of that, then you can decide what is the messaging you're going to put and bring to each of these buyers so that this entire purchase journey can be completed. And now I will throw in one more complication because
Hmm.
the purchase cycle of a B2B is
Yes.
much longer again than B2C, which is like immediate. So
Much more.
so what's the breakdown? Well, it's highly complex. There's a lot of data that you need to use to be able to infer your decisions. And you need a really skilled team to be able to manage this entire process. A team who understands the purchase journey, the industry,
Yes.
knows how to interpret the data,
Yes.
and knows how to orchestrate that message to push people down the journey. So I think
So
it's just how, yeah,
according to what you're saying, it's much harder to become the CMO of a B2B company as it is for a B2C, right? You said B2C, this life cycle of, I'm being provocative on purpose. The life cycle is much smaller, right? You invest money in TikTok, in Meta, or whatsoever, and you're gonna be tracking the conversion rate, right? So I'm putting that money in the machine. How much am I getting out of it, right? And I make sure that my teams is running the right campaign, the right promotion, the right segmentation, so I can maximize this ROI. When it goes to B2B and also on the chemical industry, we are also facing, as you say, a journey that is much longer, right? That user journey that could be 5 to 10 minutes for purchasing a fast moving consumer good can become easily a 6, 7, 8 month, even a year in pharmaceutical industry, which is making this quite hard to measure the return on investment that you're doing on your marketing, right?
yeah,
So maybe it means that on what you're explaining, and slowly but surely we are going to the upcoming role of agentic AI on this entire journey. But from what I understand, from your perspective, coming from the industry, working in big corporations, then moving to agency and now to AI, I have the feeling that the marketing director that was working, talking to the CEO, presenting what was the marketing vision on the long term, the investment on a channel versus another. Now in 2026, maybe he needs to understand the data that is in his hands to keep the critical thinking versus what LLM should I use, what platform should I be working with, getting a kind of a skill set that is much bigger than what used to be in the past, right? And working not only with teams, but potentially with teams, with systems, platforms, and now with agents. No, and I do believe that this is the reflection that you made yourself, and that's also why you've been shifting right from structured systems to building Mavic AI. So my understanding is that now you're building Mavic AI. You've been moving from a highly structured global organization into a founder-led environment. This is something I'd like to understand also, and to hear from you, so you can explain us what has changed the most, right? In the what you've been thinking on scaling knowledge. What is the
yeah,
biggest change from a corporate leader to a founder? And also, how do you see agents are there to transform the way we apply marketing? It's a broad question. Maybe we can start easy on
yeah.
what was the biggest change from being corporate leader to a founder.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, there were so many points you spoke about, and I just wanted to respond to that point you said
Yes.
about it's very difficult being a B2B CMO. Actually,
Yes.
because of that, and because of this long purchase cycle, the complexity of the different channels, and then the complexity of the different teams being in all of these in the ecosystem, and
Yes.
that is also why I decided and I came up with the idea of Mavic, because there was just one day in a few years back, and
Yes.
I've always been a regional resource, and a lot of my job is trying to be able to bring people on this journey. And I realized that there's so much context that I have in my head, but I
Mhm.
have to share this context with all the different team members. And then, when someone comes into the role or leaves the role, I have to rebrief. That process is highly time consuming. We spend
Yeah.
so much time on market briefings and then going back to global and back. So when AI came about, I
Yeah.
realized, oh, if all this information can be kept into this one, almost like a data
Mhm.
lake, like a shared context, and AI can actually be help all the different team members get up to speed very quickly without a need for someone else, that actually can solve a lot of these repeated process
Yes.
briefing processes and meetings. And everyone's job can be put towards, focus can be put towards how do you actually convert the different parts of the funnel. And that's why I actually started Mavic, because I believe that when it comes to marketing, there
Yes.
needs the brand itself needs a brand memory that anyone when working on this brand, whether you're in Singapore or you're in US or Vietnam, you can just tap into
Feel
this
that.
brand memory.
Mhm.
Yeah. And this AI layer can actually help to interpret what the brand means to whoever is working on the brand, so that
Mhm.
that person can actually take the best decision for the business and for the brand. That was why I started Mavic, because this pain point that you've
Yes.
actually nailed is something that requires technology's help. And now in Mavic, when I'm founding today, I guess the biggest difference is that I get to be very quick in terms in my pivots, right? There's no like stakeholder alignments. I can kind of move on
You
based
are
on
less
the
steering
businesses.
committees to the interline with before, right?
Yeah, no steer course. But very focused on the businesses that I work with. Of course, DKSH being one of the business. So very like being able to really spend time and then pivot based on what we see the industry and the
True.
businesses need. Yeah,
You can pivot much faster, right? And when you
absolutely.
incorporate, you have structure, taking control, processes to follow. In startup, you can have much more flexibility. You can create speed, but also you're having a much higher competition because you kind of compete with other startups, while in corporations you compete to deliver value for a specific business, right? In the case of Mavic AI, so you've been building this based on the pain that you've been yourself feeling while you were working on a regional role, which also actually makes tons of sense, right? I mean, we are having global brands on local cultures and how one brand can talk to each of the culture, right? This is something that even at DKSH, we are 35 markets on performance materials, 35 realities sharing one logo, which is our factory. So how do we want to address ourselves to our customers and our clients? In Thailand is not the same as the way we proceed in Spain, which is not the same as the way we proceed in Japan. However, we do not have team capacity to deliver at scale for each of the market. And this is of course one of the pain point that AI is helping a lot with. And I think we are getting and increasing a lot the efficiency on using AI for those digital marketing cases. At least this is what we believe at DKSH. However, I have a question because we also work on ingredients, on pharmaceutical ingredients, and this is this type of industries like pharma, chemicals, consumer health. The regulation is quite high and heavy, right? We cannot do whatever we want, right? In many organizations, the challenge is not really to accessing AI tools, but what is the governance that we are placing above it, right? How do we do to build trust? I was talking about B2B means H to H, human to human. Human, they are moved by trust, right? You take a bus in the morning because you trust that the bus driver will bring you to your destination, right? So
Yes.
how should we and how can we trust an AI agent on the base of what we want to do and making sure that it fits with the different regulations. So how do you see that from your perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think there are so many people that I think there should be a lot more energy put towards this part as well. Because today,
Yes.
actually, in terms of the AI technology, AI can
Yes.
do almost everything, right? From video generation to code to
Yes.
images. But the question is, what data was the AI trained on? Are you
Mhm.
accidentally infringing anyone's copyrights?
Yes.
Is are you and also what's the intent of you as a business to use this AI? Are you using it because you want to cut cost, or are you using it because you want to pass off someone else's artistic style as your own without having to pay all those like loading fee?
Mhm.
So I think
Yes.
it's very important for companies today, especially companies that matter so much in the world pharmaceutical
Yes.
chemical companies to have AI governance,
Yes.
so that you know the rules of how you're going to use AI. And that is, for example, personally for myself,
Yes.
I like to look at the EU AI Act as a
Yes.
guideline. So I always look at that. I don't believe so much in deep fake technology. So even as an AI company,
Yes.
I do avoid things like deep fake.
Yes.
As a company, I believe a lot in the human in the loop process. So you need
Okay.
to be very clear on what is the human role and
Yes.
what's the AI role. And all of that requires experimentation. It
Sure.
requires like pilots, so that once you as an organization start working on these pilots, you will be able to learn and iterate and figure out how technology and AI agents, what are the roles that they should hold, and where are the moments where you need
Hmm.
human in the loop to be able
Yes.
to have that credibility and reliability. So yeah,
So
that's my view on that.
this notion of AI governance, I think it meets halfway, right? Where the raising topic of data governance in companies, right? Because the data is the main enabler of using AI at scale, and also to making agents performing as we are doing here with Mavic AI. Right now, and I was reading recently that AI is the topic number two in the agenda of executive committees globally. And one of the questions is like how to steer AI, how to making sure that we are investing money and getting return on investment at scale and having actually an impact of AI
Mm,
in the P&L of companies and so on,
mm,
which is bringing this topic of the governance and also this topic of introducing agents realizing actions within the company, where the agent perform actions, the agent delivers value to a target audience, right? So as a company, how can we design intelligence as a business and deliver a kind of a leadership or a team organization, which is hybrid, working with people and agents together on following a same pace. I'm sure you have a lot of customers at Mavic. You're enabling agent for teams. So what is your guidelines or what's the direction you will give on this?
yeah. So what I observe is that there are three layers in which an organization start
Yes.
their AI journey. The first layer is really at the personal level, where they give access to everyone and every kind of like Copilot,
Yes.
right? Or Gemini, and everyone uses it individually. So
Yes.
that actually warms up the everyone in terms of understanding how to start working with AI. Then a lot of times the first entry point is they're using AI to do the things that they don't want to do, like writing emails, which is like most of the work use cases, and summarizing documents, things like that. Now, so I would say that's really the basic. Then the second way an organization starts to evolve is when specialists or experts they realize that, hey, with AI, I can get to a quality outcome that I want to faster. So they no longer use AI to just get work done, but they use AI and they start to co-think, co-ideate with AI and get it to the level that they are happy with. And these are people with very clear understanding of what good looks like. What's their criteria for quality? If they were to do it themselves manually, what would they expect? And they start to use AI and guide AI
Yes.
towards that process. Then after that, on the third level, at the organization level, if you have many functions, all of them knowing what good looks like for them as a person, and they are able to codify it and articulate it and explain in a very in a very structured manner,
Yes.
that's where you now have an organization that has the potential to introduce AI agents, because these people
Okay.
can build AI agents representing themselves, and they can start to actually move that process. And then you can decide what is the human's role to be in the loop, right? Because that human now has is AI mature and has also converted their own I like to use the word codify their own experience,
Yes.
expertise, and quality into something the AI agent can use. And then now you can very systematically see where the effectiveness are, the ROI comes from, and also where the breaks are, because now the role of the human becomes that supervisor. Yeah. So these are the three steps that I've seen organizations take on quite often. And that's why even in studies, I think there was a Deloitte study saying that the lag time between AI starting and ROI is about 2 years, because
Okay.
the change is actually first at the individual, then improving at the individual, and then the systems level.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. That's extremely interesting. Specifically, what you're saying on the AI agents that you build and develop to represent yourself. You said AI agents representing themselves, and just made me reflect on that, right? Because when you build something that represents yourself, something that represents your brand as a company, so it has to represent your values, right? Your core values, your mission, your vision, your identity, and also it opens a new chapter for marketing teams moving forward. Is that how an agent has that identity, not only the visual identity, but also the AI identity of a company such as DKSH or another DKSH, right? Do you feel this is a new trend that will be further and more explored within the next few months or years?
I absolutely think so. In fact, let me just let you in with a little secret at Mavic. There are markdown files. Markdown files are what AI agents work
Yes.
really well with, that I have used to codify my thinking and the way I take decisions on coming out with product or doing marketing. And use that so that I can share this
Yes.
context with the rest of the team, so that they understand and they take decisions according to how I would like to. So
Yes.
what happens to my role, right? My role is to do what we are doing right now, to talk to customers like DKSH, because there's so much,
Mm.
exploration and data gathering that the human still
Yes.
has to do. AI is just looking at data and whatever you give it. But as a human, these experiences, sitting in front of the customer, being able to read the language or understanding what they want,
Mm.
why they would buy and why they wouldn't buy, that requires someone to have the interface. And then I go back and I convert that and update my MD files, markdown files, and then that
Yes.
is sent off. And if a company can find people who have this skill
Yes.
set to be able to codify the experiences they have with customers or with like different stakeholders
Yes.
into MD file that an AI agent can use to keep things running, imagine what you can create with this kind of
Wow.
ecosystem. Yeah, so
Wow.
so definitely I think that's going to be the for like the futuristic companies where we can
Yeah,
go
no,
towards.
it really connects three things actually. The core
Yes.
pillar, which is being, the soft skills, right? What soft skills represent you, Jess, as a professional and also as a person, and how this is reflected within an agent, right? And
Mm.
connecting hard skills, soft skills, and pillar is also a way to give more authenticity and humanity to agents. And moving forward, talking about leading companies and and cross skills company, this is something extremely interesting, right? The leadership of both agents and teams.
Yeah, and actually just one more point. I think that the beauty about AI is it just functions with language. It is this one moment in time we all have where as long as you have a language in you and you can articulate,
Yes.
you have the ability to talk to a code and to codify your knowledge into an agent. So
True.
it's just I think the possibilities are endless. And
And
yeah,
this.
I would love, yeah.
Mm.
Have you started building an agent yourself?
I do. I do on
Okay.
the
Okay.
professional level, but also on personal level. And well, at DKSH, we have this AI championing program with people in each market trying to lead and bringing this to the next stage. And we all of us realize that the only hurdle, let's say, between an ID and an actual platform or business was the development and the coding of that. and this hurdle just fall apart with the vibe coding and all the solutions that are existing. So as you say, it opened an extending room for opportunities and possibilities to innovate for good, to innovate for increasing the efficiency of the teams, the developing new business models also, and handling the future on the way that we cannot even think about today. Mm. Just Jess, as the last question, because we will have soon to close this fantastic interview we are having together. What is your outlook for the 3 to 4 years to come? What will change within? What will be different in 2030, for instance?
Wow. I mean, I think what we are witnessing right now is equivalent to what we saw in the social media era and also what
Mhm.
we saw in the internet era, where a new technology has been introduced. Consumer expectations of businesses and brands are going to change. What we can do from a business, like how we manufacture, how we communicate, that has to change. And the economics of the world, because with AI, the time span is so low that the costs will also have to reduce for certain things. So the economy will also have to correct itself based on the new
Yeah.
technology. Of course, now computing costs are subsidized. So, when the correction comes, we will see. So I think
Yes.
in the next 3 to 4 years, we are going to see a correction, I think, in the market where the businesses built on old economy is going to have to evolve, and then there will be a huge blue ocean for small companies that knows how to leverage technology, is AI
Yes.
centric, and has figured out how to coexist between human and AI, and they can actually capture the market very, very quickly, as we've also seen in the last 2 years. So
Mm.
it's going to be a very interesting time. But for me as a business, as long as we keep an eye on the customer, on the end consumer, then I think and just go towards what the consumers want, then we will have to pivot according to that. Yeah.
Definitively. Definitively. And completely aligned with you, right? There is a technological challenge and also a company organization challenge since the business is getting transformed, right? The technology is only the trigger. What happens next really is the business transformation, the way we proceed, the way we deliver, and the way we create growth. I think we have finalized this discussion. We come from a world where the software were providing insights, and we are slowly but surely moving into a world where we have agents taking actions instead. And companies like Mavic AI are helping corporations to take that change of mindset within the digital marketing journey. And I recommend people listening to that episode to take a look at Mavic AI. You're based in Singapore, right? And the output and the potential output for their company. And thinking about our conversation, I mean, what stands out is not just the evolution of AI or digital tool, but also the structural tensions, right, that exist in very large organization, trying to moving fast while staying accurate. And the landscape you gave for 2030 is also showing that this AI transformation is not only a technological topic, but mostly a human topic. And this is something that must be addressed from within every single team within the organization. Jess, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your perspective. It was great talking to you.
It was great talking to you too, Florian. Thank you so much for having me here today. And I really enjoyed the interview. I am so excited about what we can do together at DKSH. And yeah, again, look forward to seeing how we can tackle this changing world.
Thanks. Maybe we might have to do another episode, the two of us, 2 years, 3 years from now, so we can reflect on what we discussed today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you're listening and still listening the episode, thank you so much for making it, and congratulations for listening the entire episode. If you enjoy it, please follow the Digital Chemical Playbook on Spotify, on YouTube, Amazon Music, and much more. If you want to learn more on DKSH and what we are offering, please go to dksh.com and or dkshdiscover.com if you're looking for ingredients coming from the company. This podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. Thank you so much. Stay tuned and looking forward to sharing and having another episode with you all. Thank you very much. Goodbye.